And we do the dissection of the head, again, reflection. The incision is made from behind the ear. It goes from ear to ear like this, and the scalp is pulled forward. Is pulled forward or pulled back posteriorly, and you're going to, if you'll place your fingers right here, you feel all these attachments and musculature that's back here. With an injury like this, we're going to dissect all the way down. I mean, really, really get into this very, very deep. And we're going to look for any kind of focal areas of hemorrhage on the backside. Well, first, we're going to examine the backside of the neck. We saw what happened with the ballooning. Remember, we were seeing that. And of course, they're not going to know that at the time of the autopsy. That videography came, was presented
days
afterwards.
later.
Yeah, days later. So, but
Ooh, there's a question. Since this was public, though, would the medical examiner be requesting access to any and all video that we already have in the public domain or that the investigators may have?
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any. It would. Here's the rub, and this is more of a legal thing. So, how do you, if the ME is using the videography to make a scientific determination, how do you validate the source of the videography? And that would be a question I think the prosecutor and both the defense would ask, because how does that play into, say, for instance, the decision that the ME is going to make, and they might even ask, well, you saw the video, how does that influence your findings here? So I think that's very important to try to understand.
So do they extract how do they get into the brain?
Yeah. So
they pull the skin, but you got a skull?
So after you have reflected anteriorly and then posteriorly, you have to now remove the temporal muscles, which are on either side of the skull. And again, you have to examine all of the musculature back here.
And are you taking pictures this whole way?
All the way. Yeah, there'll be tons and tons of pictures of the head.
Very interesting to me, by the way, everything that you would have preserved. And you've been talking about that throughout the day, but you just laid it out a couple minutes ago as well. Because if we find out at trial that any of that was not preserved, it hurts the case potentially.
I think that it does. Yeah, I think that it does. And again, going back to the vertebral bodies, maybe they don't take C2 through C7, but I think that it's incumbent to take those bodies that are specifically impacted by this round or whatever this was, and you have to demonstrate, this piece that you've Baron, that you've talked about relative to the obliteration of the spinal cord. You have to demonstrate an absence of the spinal cord, right? Or the remnant, the sheath that the spinal cord goes up through, or is encased in, rather, as poorly stated. You have to demonstrate that, and the retention of those vertebral bodies, I think, is essential here. Any kind of cosmetic things that you're thinking about relative to funeral practices and all that, that's all secondary,
right?
Because
you can always close the casket.
Well, you can always close the casket, and plus, mortuary science people do incredible things. Yeah. I mean, they really, really, it's amazing what they do. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it, but it's amazing what they can do. So you're going to have to open the skull, the cranial vault, and carefully remove the brain. And first off, you're going to have to do, once you get the calvarium off, which is the skull cap itself, once you remove the calvarium, you're going to look at it. Looks like a bowl, okay? And then the brain will be here. It'll be interesting to see if he noted any kind of swelling in the brain, because that's a reaction. You get a reaction to trauma. You'll have to weigh the brain. By the way, all these organs are being weighed, and there's a standard that you look for, and it's bracketed. No two people are the same. Sure. So these weights are bracketed for an individual at this age, his body weight, all these sorts of things. And so they're going to weigh, they're going to examine the brain in place. They're going to make note if it appears swollen or not. If the vessels in the brain are dilated, if they see any kind of evidence of congestion in the brain, again, that's a reactive kind of thing, because you're talking about cerebral spinal trauma, right? So you have to make note of that. It would not surprise me at all if they got a consult from a neuropathologist in this case as well, somebody that they would reach out to that is probably on contract. Trust me, medical examiners have contracts with neuropathologists because neurotrauma is something you deal
Do
with
they
a
just
lot.
send them a picture and say, what do you
Yeah.
think?
No.
They bring them in physically, right
Bring
there.
them in, or you hold the brain. You retain
Oh,
the
wow.
brain.
Okay.
Yeah, and the brain is preserved. And
interesting.
I'd be interested to know if the brain was dissected that day or if they fixed the brain, which means that you set the brain up in a solution, because the brain is it's kind of like a heavy wet sponge. It's hard to dissect in the immediate. So you fix the brain in formalin, not formaldehyde, but it's called formalin. It's akin to formaldehyde. And then after it has fixed, you wait days later, and then you do the bread loafing on the brain. And you can get a neuroconsult. They'll come in and take a look at it. You might even, I've been involved in cases where we had neuropathologists that have come in and they've actually done the dissection with a forensic pathologist right there. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but there's so much potential neuropathology here involved in this, and you're going to want to get that brain stem. You have to collect it and
Preserve it?
Yeah, most definitely.
What does it tell you?
Well, brainstem is therein rests the autonomic nervous system, right?
Okay.
And so that's lights out right there. So any kind of trauma, if it was impacted anyway at all, again, I hate to keep saying this, better to have it, and not have it, and hold on to it.
When do you suspect, and if I skip something here,
No, it's okay.
bring us back, but doing it all correctly by the book, if that is how it was done, and saying maybe they started at 8:30, when do you think this would have been done? And when it is done, what is the process right there of custody of the body, and what is that timeline?
Yeah, I'm
look like?
thinking, again, I'm spitballing here just based on my personal experience with something like this. 1-ish, 1:30-ish probably. I would
Okay.
imagine if you get started at that exact time,
Exactly at 8:30 or whatever.
yeah, you're going to need that kind of cushion here. And again, it all depends on, first off, how well the pathologist works with their technician and the photographer, getting that, because it's like a dance. It's kind of weird, right? You've got these people that are moving about the body doing photography, and any kind of technicians that are there that are doing it, and everybody has their role to play. How smoothly, how well oiled is this? And so I would think that if you started at 8:30, 1:30 might be an outer marker, I think.
So they would document the start time and finish time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's going to be in the kind of, this is what it'll read like. It'll be, and you check it yourself, it's gold. There's that little preamble in the beginning of an autopsy report, and it generally states something like, this prosector was met at the morgue by technician so-and-so, officer so-and-so, down the line. So it literally enumerates everybody that's present in there. This autopsy was started at 30 hours on this date. And then they're going to go into
And are they dictating as they go, or is someone taking notes?
most of the time they're taking notes. Little interesting aside, how I got to work in the morgue. This is how I started. I worked as a scribe.
Or where you were writing.
And I had to learn on the fly. So I would work with a forensic pathologist, because they don't have the microphone. There's too much noise. You can't do it. And so I would sit there and just feverishly take notes, and I'm having to learn as I'm going. And I learned this as a young man. I was 20 years old, just sitting there on a stool, listening to everything that he said. And by God, you better not get it wrong. And having to take down measurements and all that.
So wait a minute.
Because he's dirty and you're not. Your hands are clean. So they will walk over and write, and they'll write on a grease board. But if they're asking for
Interesting.
specific notes, you're writing down for them.
So there's nothing that happens where, like, when I'm in a doctor's office, I'll see my doctor lean over after I tell him what's wrong with my ankle or something like that, and he'll make vocal notes of it and say, like, patient reports, blah, 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 blah.
Right.